Kenzy Knoxx, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I will be painting this little fantastic moon painting. So basically it's the moon on top of the ocean, and so I hope you enjoy my tutorial and I hope you find it useful. And so I guess let's get started.
Hi everyone, it's Kenzy Knoxx and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we will be painting the moon over the water, and it's supposed to be nice and relaxing, so sit back and grab your paintbrushes and grab some paint and let's just start painting. So to get started we need to prime our background, unfortunately, and I know this is a tedious process, but in this case we kind of need to. So grab your black paint and grab a large paintbrush, and I'll be using a large filbert brush today. And we're just going to fill in the background, and so just start painting away. Today I'm working on a 9x12 size mixed media paper, and since mixed media paper is a little bit different than canvas, it actually absorbs a lot of water from the paint that you're using, which makes the paint sometimes less workable on your canvas or your mixed media paper. And so I found that using tempera paint, like a white tempera paint, sometimes helps it move along the canvas a lot easier. And since the color is semi-transparent, it almost works like water without diluting the paint. Okay, so once that is all dry, go ahead and rinse out your brush. And if you have a hairdryer or a heat gun, that's sometimes best to use just to speed up the drying process. I don't have anything with me because I'm not in my studio and I don't have my hairdryer available to do this part, unfortunately. I know, so I gotta wait for it to dry. So fortunately, acrylic paint doesn't take too long to dry, so if you're like me, you're gonna have to wait for it to dry. It should only take around 10 minutes or so, depending on how much paint you put on your canvas. However, we can do a few things that we don't really need to wait for, so let's just jump ahead and go ahead and do that. So starting out, I'm going to use this little filbert brush here. It's probably like a size 1. I don't know if you can see this, how small this is. It's a really cute little tiny brush, and it's actually a paintbrush, makeup brush that I found in my little kit that I never used, and it's actually quite fantastic for painting. So I'm just going to use this. You can use a flat brush, an angular brush, any brush is really fine. Okay, so we're going to draw in our horizon, and our horizon is going to be, let's see, a third of the way up the canvas. So let's see, a third, so you got 1/3, so right around here. And we're going to take this line, and it's not going to be all the way across, it's just going to be probably from there to there. And that is our horizon point. And so now that we're just going to paint wet on wet, which is completely fine, we're just going to start in on our water lines. And so to begin off with, we need to mark where our moon will be. So our moon is going to be in the center of our horizon point, and we're just going to want to basically put a little dot right there where our moon will be. So our moon will be right there, and so just keep that in mind while we're doing our painting. So why don't we just put a little dot so that we're just aware of where that point is. And now we're going to work on our water lines. You're simply going to start our little zigzag lines. So use a thin, you can use a liner brush if you'd like. That'd probably be smart. And we're going to create these small skin lines back here. They're just reflections of the moon. Okay, and these lines are going to come at an angle. So they're going to end up around, they're going to come out pretty far, probably like to here. So like that, and then like that on this side. So if an easy way, if you want to make it really accurate, you can do, measure it out on your brush here. Actually, I'll go on this side. So like here. So pretty much to like right there. And so essentially we'll be creating a triangle of these waves that are reflecting the moonlight. So in the farther distance, so in the background, these lines are going to be thin and short and close together. And as they get closer towards us, they'll get farther apart, thicker and longer in shape and form. Just keep that in mind. And so now you can see me drawing the lines at the bottom of the canvas, and these are going to be the thicker and longer lines, and that was just because I couldn't get the thin lines that I really wanted at the top of the water line, because the paint wasn't really dry and the brush that I was using wasn't really effective for what I wanted to achieve. Ripples. And I know it's kind of tricky, but just try to remember that we're trying to keep these lines within that diagonal, invisible sort of line that we created that stemmed from the center and out towards the outside. And we just want to keep these lines horizontal in shape or form. And if the white isn't showing up a lot on your palette, on your canvas, I'm sorry, don't worry about it, because we'll be creating lots of layers of paint so that the white shows up on top of the black. And you'll need to do this because acrylic paint tends to dry a lot darker than it is when it is wet. So even though it looks brilliant and white right now, when it dries it may look a little darker in color, and we want it to really pop when we're done, so we're just going to have to add multiple layers. And during this process, you may have to switch up your brushes. You may need to use a liner brush or a flat brush or an angular brush or any brush that works for you. Just go ahead and use whatever. I don't have all my paint brushes with me, so it's a bit difficult, but I'll get there and you will too. Just keep painting. Once you think you're done with this part of the painting, take a step back and make sure you're happy with your lines. And if not, just go ahead and touch them up a little bit and straighten them out if you'd like. And then once you're done with that, we can move on to the next step. Now I'm just adding a little more white to the horizon line, and that is also a reflection line, so it doesn't need to be a solid line. So I'm just adding these little like hyphenated little lines there, and I'm just adding layers of white. And so now we're going to paint in the moon. This should be interesting. So I drew a point right above the center of the horizon point. And so my first attempt at making this circle obviously wasn't that great, but that's okay because we're going to be painting it in. And so if you feel more comfortable using a device to draw in the circle, that's perfectly fine. I am a loose painter, so I just paint in the figure as I see it best with my eye, I guess. It doesn't have to be perfect, it's just the moon, so just once we get the shape and we're happy with that, we can go ahead and fill it in. And I'm just using a large filbert brush, but you can use any brush you'd like. And this layer of paint will probably be looking like a gray color once you're covering it, because black is very hard to cover with white, but we want that under layer to help us create these mid-tones that we need. And so you'll be really happy that you started off with a black underneath the white rather than not filling in that area at all and trying to fill it in with gray. This flat brush. Or this one. This one's a little longer, so I might go with the shorter one for easier control. I'm going to go ahead and wet the bristles, tap off the drip, and then I'm going to actually take some of my white and make a little gray mixture. That's going to be light gray, just so like this gray right here. It's just white and black. And I'm going to take that, and we're just going to do some reflections. So like starting over here, just some reflections. Oh, I should have used this brush. Jeepers, this gets real thin lines, huh? I actually want these ones to be thicker. So these are not going to be our white lines. They're going to be our thinner lines. Okay, so now rinse off your brush. I'm going to grab some white. I'm going to go over some of these lines over here. If my paint will let me. Just does not want to seem to stick to my canvas. Oh. We're just trying to make these really stand out bright and white. And you could just do straight lines, and you could do little curves, like those little C shapes if you want. Depending if you want to do the ocean, or maybe the sea, and the water could be turbulent, or it could be calm. It's really up to you. And if your paint is still wet, then just give it a moment or dry it off with your hair dryer. Because we really want these lines to stick out. Okay, so I'm going to use this one. I'm going to get it wet, tap off the drips, grab that white, and we're going to go down here on this side and really get this white. You know, this painting is supposed to be a nice, easy, relaxing painting. Non-stressful, so take all that stress in your life, and even if you have some stress in your life today, and shake it off. Because this is your time. Okay, and rinse that off real quick. Whatever you want in your own free time. So take 5 minutes. You deserve 5 minutes to yourself. Or, an hour or half an hour or whatever. But you deserve it. Everyone deserves a little time to themselves. Okay, so let's take our medium size probably going to want to do a few layers. You can see mine's a bit tacky, so it's lifting up. So that's not quite dry yet. This may take some time. And then it's going to be really white along this whole side over here. So if you can make a side white, make it that side. And then some of this will be white. Not as bright though. And let's see. So I think I'm going to stick with that. Oh, it's such a tough decision. Each brush works so differently. I'm going to try out this other flat brush I have. I'm going to get it wet, tap off the drips. Let's see how this one works. This one might work really well. We really want these lines to be really white. They should get thicker. Okay, so then we're going to take that green mixture again as they get closer to us. And then just go over some lines over here. Then there should be short little lines over here. Then when you think it's good, then you move back out to the moon in the upper part. Wash out your brush. Grab some more white on that same brush. I'm just going to lighten this out just a little bit. That was scary. My brush had a lot of water in it. Yikes. Watch out for a lot of water on your brush. Usually it's there in the barrel for some reason. Okay, so let's try to do some white here. Let's try to make this area white. I'm trying to create this little sunburst right here. Okay, and then sunburst will look like that. And then over here we'll have another little sunburst. So basically we're creating this little hole in the center and pulling it out. As if there's like a crater in that hole. And a little sunburst up here. And there's all this sunlight coming out from it. Be careful for your words. Okay, so you got our two little sunbursts. See, I just want to keep pulling paint off of our going to pull that line canvas here. All that whiteness down. I'm liking this brush. Okay, which I didn't even know existed. It does have a very short handle, but oh my gosh, it's working perfectly for whatever it is I needed to do. So I was very happy with this brush. Challenging. So we're just going to paint this all white. It's okay. Okay, we're just pulling paint off. I'm going to have like these dark circly areas. One's going to be like right in here. And then maybe a little darker one, over there. So in between them, do you paint those white-ish. And then, oh, we get a few more sunbursts here. So we're going to have another sunburst right here. Then we're going to have another one right over here. And these aren't called sunbursts. These are just craters, but they look like they create sunburst effects. So they're fun to draw in. Or painted, I'm sorry, painted. And if you're having your paint like pop off of your canvas like mine is right now, it's just because it's wet underneath, so just rinse off your brush. Try to let the area dry a little bit more before continuing on, because I'm picking up black paint from underneath it, which means it hasn't cured to the canvas yet. So I'm just going to fix this little sunburst over here. And this over here. I'm really just supposed to be black right there, Jeevers. Okay. Fix up this area over here. Make it white. Okay, and then carry that white over this way. And this side of the moon's going to be a little bit grayer. And then, let's see, our little sunburst. Clean off your brush. I need a little more black. I'm just going to create little sunbursty crater effects here. Just outlining where that sunburst is, where that crater is. And then we're going to take some black and some white. Take that gray color, just color over some of the moon. And you know, and if you're pulling up black, it's okay, because the moon isn't always just white and gray. Okay, so now we're just going to take our sunburst that has a little bit characteristics. It has different sort of looking things all
And this
around
one's
it. Sunrise coming out of it. Just filling in some of these areas over here. These craters move around these little... The moon is kind of hard to, you always see the gray spots. The moon. I think it'd be easy to move all over the place, but depending on how those craters are actually lifted areas of the moon. Okay, so we're just gonna let that dry. I think I'm gonna add something maybe a little over. I'm gonna just add some texture here. I like texture. And I'm gonna take some black lines here. Go along those sunburst lines that we had here. Recreate them. If you have a liner brush, that'd probably be fantastic if you had that available to you. So just create a very light shade. I would highly suggest you use that. If not, you use a flat brush like I'm using, or an angular brush. I'm using a gray color, not really a black color. Okay. Take some white, just lighten this up again. Forget if I decided to do, I guess I just had to do a sunburst over there, but in gray form. So we're just going to add a little white center. Wash out our brush real quick. Take a small liner brush if you have one. And draw little black lines. And then we can wait for that to dry a little bit. And so let's go back to our water. Make this real white again. Oh, I always get this extra drip. Make sure your brush is very dry when you're doing this. It can be very frustrating. Oh, still drip. Layers are what make the painting really stand out and look great. Sometimes you have to take a step back to look at your painting to realize what is missing maybe, or what you feel is missing. So don't be scared to take a step back. Take a picture. I know a lot of artists that take pictures of their paintings, and then from that they determine what they need to do, because you have to see it in a 2D version of your photo, which is very helpful. I'm just going to take that and place it a little bit up top over here. This way. And then we're going to wash your brush out, and we're going to take just a little bit of deep blue. To your 1/4 inch flat brush, we are going to mix some white, some black, and just a little bit of blue, just a little. And we're going to come down on this side and just paint a little bit of blue down there. And over here. So back to the moon, I'm taking some of the black, some white, and blend it softly into the other areas where there might be a little bit of yellow. Then we're going to add a little more white. So to add more white, a little bit of blue, make a very light white bluish color. Take that in and get a little more white. Just going to mix that in, just white. And bring that down. And then take a little more white, because we don't want just flat white.
I'm so sorry, we forgot to put in little specks of white. So grab that little white that you might have left over
for a sunburst. And this is just a little bit of white, the blue color.